Hello and welcome to another edition of Football Feedback. It's week 3 of the NFL season, and man, week 2 was a rough one as we went 6-7-3 against the spread and 9-7 on the money line. Not great at all. But on the year, 21-11 on the money line, 17-12-3 against the spread. So looking to keep that momentum going and get back on the right track in week 3. First matchup we're going to look at is the Indianapolis Colts against the Baltimore Ravens. This game is in Baltimore. Baltimore, I have them at an 8-point favorite, and they've covered both spreads they've had this season so far, and I would think they would do the same, so I'll take the Ravens. Next up, we have my Cleveland Browns hosting the Tennessee Titans. Browns are favored by 3.5. Ugly showing for Cleveland last week on Monday Night Football against the Steelers. Steelers managed to beat the Browns while never running an offensive play from within the 30-yard line. So, yeah, that's a pretty tough pill to swallow for Cleveland. And as someone that has taken the Browns both times, both ways, money line and against the spread so far, I am going to do a split for the first time this season. I think that the Browns do win the game, but I think I would take the Titans to cover. If it was just 3, I would take the Browns expecting a push, but the extra half-point hook, I think the Titans, I think it's going to be a field goal game, and so the Browns win by 3, Titans cover. The next game is a very interesting one. We have the Atlanta Falcons traveling to take on the Detroit Lions. Lions are home favorites by 3 points in this game. This is another one I do believe will stay close. Detroit struggled last week after an impressive opening season win. So maybe you can make the case they came off that high a little too high and feeling themselves. They got to match up against Seattle, who was coming off an embarrassing loss, so maybe they were a little bit more motivated. Whatever the case, the Lions lost last week. This week, I think that they may potentially lose again because Atlanta will be able to move the ball on the Lions defense. And so I'm taking Atlanta both ways here. Falcons to win and cover. Next up is a game that I really could go either way on. New Orleans Saints going to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Packers are favored by 2 points, and I don't know which way to go, but in the end, I think I'm just going to stick with the home team. Give me the Packers -2. So Packers money line, Packers -2. Next up, we have an AFC South battle between the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars looking to bounce back after that embarrassing loss to the Chiefs last week. I say embarrassing because they created so many turnovers and were still, if they just got into the end zone one time, they would have won that game. Tough loss for them. Houston, Stroud's actually looked pretty decent, but the team itself is just not very good. So only so much he can do. Jacksonville, this line's moved around a lot. The one I'm going off of here is Jacksonville -9. It's a really tough call because these two teams always play close, division battle. Houston's had the edge for a long time. Jacksonville looking to take that over. Give me the Jaguars, and I'll lay the 9 points. Next up is the Denver Broncos traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Dolphins are 2-0, and they look like arguably the best team in the league so far. Broncos 0-2, looking like one of the worst teams in the league so far. So this has a trap game feel to it a little bit. But I just don't think the Broncos are very good. I know they added Sean Payton this year, and he's supposed to be the guru to fix Russell Wilson, but early results aren't great, and I expect things to continue down that path. So give me Miami, and I'll lay the 6.5. Now let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers and the Minnesota Vikings in a battle of 0-2 teams looking to get on track to make the playoffs. We all know the statistics aren't great for teams that start 0-3 and making the playoffs. Both of these teams expected to be in the playoff hunt when the season started, and neither of them got off to a great start. Minnesota seems to be struggling without Dalvin Cook. Maybe they undervalued him and overvalued Madison. Time will tell. Maybe it's just a slow start, but on the other side, you have the Chargers, who the offense has played well. And if you look at Herbert's stats, everything looks decent, but 0-2. So the results speak for themselves. Both teams will be looking to get back on track. Both teams historically play games very close, and I expect this game to be no different. It's very likely just going to be whoever has the ball last is going to be who gets the win. In this one, I'm going to go with the Chargers only because they've been showing that their offense has been good enough, and I just think that they'll be able to outscore Kirk Cousins and the Vikings offense. Next up, the New England Patriots travel to New York to take on the New York Jets. Zach Wilson looking to right the ship and carry this team, continue in Aaron Rodgers' absence. On the other side, the Patriots are looking for their first win of the season. They've been in both of their games. They've been close. The defense has been playing well, and that defense against Zach Wilson is exactly why I'm taking the Patriots minus 2.5. I know that it's probably good value that you're getting the Jets at home with the points, but I just think that the Patriots are going to go in there with a game plan specifically to make Zach Wilson turn the ball over multiple times. And I don't think that's going to be very difficult to accomplish. So I think the turnovers will end up leading to the Patriots' victory. I think the Patriots probably win by 7, but that's irrelevant. They only got to cover the 2.5. So give me the Patriots on the money line and minus 2.5. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Washington to take on the Commanders. The Commanders are a surprising 2-0 team. Sam Howell looks really solid, and this will be a great prove it game for them because I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that think that the Commanders are just, maybe a fake 2-0 or just haven't really beat anybody that matters. But if they go out there and beat the Bills this week, I think, people's antennas will be up and they'll start to realize this is a good team. And who knows, maybe Buffalo blows them out. But the spread I'm operating off of here is Buffalo minus 6.5. And I'm going to go with the Commanders. I just think that Buffalo, they laid an egg one week and then looked great the next, but they blew out a team in the Raiders who I thought was better, admittedly, than they were. I thought they were going to cover 8.5 against Buffalo. So maybe I'll end up looking like a fool again after this one, saying that the Commanders will cover 6.5. But I think the Commanders win this game. Uh, or they at least are close enough and have a chance down to the last possession. I don't think this is going to be the type of game Buffalo puts away early. So give me Buffalo money line, but give me Washington to cover the 6.5. Panthers and Seahawks. Andy Dalton will get the start as Bryce Young has been ruled out. So immediately you think, oh, well, you should be on Seattle, who's favored by 6.5. But you can make the case, will there be a jump for Carolina because of the experience of Andy Dalton? I like Andy Dalton. I think he's a solid backup, but given what we saw during his time in Dallas, I don't think that there will be much of a lift. So I actually expect Seattle to blow them out. So give me the Seahawks minus 6.5 to win the game. The Dallas Cowboys and go to Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals. This one should be a blowout. Dallas did lose Diggs on defense this week, lost him for the season due to ACL injury, which is terrible, obviously, but the defense is really solid and it's not all about one man. They'd love to have him, but I think this defense just keeps on trucking and I expect big things. Cowboys win by 20, easy. I'm not even going to try to overthink this. I know Arizona's kept their first 2 games close, but I think that trend comes to an end because they're playing an actual good team, and Cowboys win huge. Give me Dallas minus 12.5 and on the money. In another game that I don't expect to be close, the Chicago Bears travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs coming off a nice win in Jacksonville. Though they only scored 17 points, I expect the offense to have a field day against the Chicago Bears. No pun intended with Justin Fields, who is likely to struggle with the KC pass rush. I think big game for Chris Jones, probably 2 to 3 sacks and a couple turnovers by Fields and or other Chicago Bears team members. And Kansas City, who's favored by 13 points in this game, covers easily. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Las Vegas to take on Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders. The Steelers coming off a surprising win on Monday Night Football, given how bad their offense has been, and offensive coordinator Matt Canada is definitely starting to feel the scrutiny and the heat on the seat, if you will, because his offense has just looked terrible after everything in the offseason. All you were hearing is how explosive this offense was going to be this year. and how Kenny Pickett was going to be a breakout stud, and he's been nothing but a dud so far. And I expect more of the same. Not that the Raiders are great by any means, but the Raiders can at least score points. Their defense struggles, but I don't think that the Steelers are going to get right in this game. So give me the Raiders -2.5. And once again, Monday Night Football, and we're going to have two games going somewhat at the same time. Not really sure what the NFL is thinking with this strategy, but I don't like it. I would much rather have a doubleheader where I could watch both games in their entirety, even if one goes until 11 or midnight. That's fine. At least give me the option. You start one an hour before the other, and then it's like, oh, one game's getting good, but maybe the other matchup interests you more. So now you're stuck flipping and flopping. You might have multiple TVs. I do, but I'd still like to just be able to focus on each game in its entirety. I'll leave that rant there. So we have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks. The Bucks are 2-0, and Baker Mayfield's looked like one of the better quarterbacks statistically so far this season, and we'll see if that trend continues. Philadelphia is favored by 5 points on the road, and I think this is a game in which they cover easily. No offense to Tampa Bay, but I think that the Philly defense is a little bit different than what they've played so far. And I do expect Mayfield to struggle a bit. But even if Mayfield plays well and it's an offensive shootout, I just give the edge to Philly. And I do think that they can win by a touchdown or more. So I feel comfortable laying the 5 points on the road. Give me Philly, money line, and -5. The second Monday night game has a lot of question marks around it as the Los Angeles Rams will be in Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow, maybe in the Cincinnati Bengals. Burrow didn't practice all week. However, he was seen throwing on Friday, which indicates there is a chance that he will play. If I had to speculate, I would say that he is going to play. Cincinnati favored by 3 points. I think if Joe Burrow was not going to play and there was any realistic thought that he wasn't going to play, this would be closer to a pick 'em game. But with Cincinnati still being favored, I'm going to go ahead and lean Bengals. I think they get their first win of the season. Burrow's got to make it through the game, but the Rams are dealing with some of their own injury concerns. So I just think Bengals are under more pressure to get the win, and therefore they get the win. So give me Bengals money line and -3. That's all we got for week 3.